Greetings, this is Joe Foley, aka Pops. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something I've been dreaming about for the last 3 years, and I'm trying to bring it to fruition. It's called Strike Team Construction and Foundation. We're trying to launch it here in the Houston area. It's going to be a 501c3, which means it's nonprofit. And basically, what we're hoping to do is rebuild the lives of people that have been touched by disaster, and also our veterans who are, maybe running into problems, and also for the future of our veterans to have a place to live, have an education, have a career and a future, and those sorts of things. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish by putting together this outfit called Strike Team Construction. The inspiration for this actually came in 2012 when I first became a part of an outfit called Team Rubicon, which is a nationwide disaster recovery, mostly volunteer organization, which is manned primarily by veterans and first responders. Anybody can join, but it's the majority are veterans. And of course, these people, when they leave the military, they kind of miss the camaraderie and the mission orientation that they've been used to. And so this is a great opportunity for them to go out on a mission, help people, and serve, which is what they're used to doing. So part of the problem that we run into is when we leave a deployment. In this case, I actually took this picture in Moore, Oklahoma in May of 2013 after the large tornado struck that town. But it happens on every deployment, whether it's a big deployment or a small deployment, that when we're done, we all go our separate ways and we miss out on the camaraderie and miss out on the opportunity to help people. And so we get the post-deployment blues. We go back to our jobs or school or whatever it might be. And, one of the reasons why we have to leave is because we run out of resources. Because as a 501c3, just like Strike Team, Team Rubicon really depends on donations and sponsors. And they do have some great sponsors. But it's very, as you can imagine, it's very expensive to do some of these deployments where you have to have people that may come in from all over the country, and they have to be housed, they have to be fed, we have to have equipment and supplies and those sorts of things. So eventually, you're going to run out of resources, and then you're forced to leave. And that's part of the post-deployment blues, when we know when we leave an area and we see more houses that we could have torn down for people so they can rebuild, and more debris we could have moved up to the street so that it can be removed, and those sorts of things. So if we have more resources, then we can do more. And certainly, the homelessness and the suicide rate among veterans is deplorable. The VA's estimated 300,000 on any given night. There may be 300,000 veterans that are living on the street. And of course, many of you have heard of the suicide rate among veterans, which averages about 22 suicides per day in the United States. And that's not acceptable. So, one of the big things that we can do for people is create opportunities for them, opportunities to work, opportunities to learn a trade, opportunities to move forward with their life and create a future for them and their families. And so those are the kind of things that we want to do. So the money that is generated through this nonprofit can sustain us. It can sustain the organization, number one, so that we don't have to ask for money from anybody once we get off the ground. So then we can turn our attention to veterans. We can help sustain them, again, with jobs and training, but we can also sustain other veteran service organizations, most of which are nonprofits. And so they're out there as well. There's seems to be a bazillion veteran service organizations out there now. A lot of them do very good work, but they are faced with the same kind of financial challenges that Team Rubicon and other veteran service organizations face. So there may be a way for us through Strike Team to alleviate that to some extent. So we can produce a cash flow that we can use for grants, training, etc., veteran service organization operations, energy efficient housing. I'm going to tell you about structural thermal panel construction, which is a construction technology that we're hoping to use to build homes and rebuild homes. That technology has been around since the 60s, hasn't been used very much in the Houston area, but in the upper Midwest it's been used quite a bit. But a lot of the homes you don't see it used very often. So in order to facilitate that, we have to train people, we have to hire people, We want these to be veterans. And again, with the money that we get, we can provide health benefits for these people, mental health, physical health for them and their families. And I had spoken several years ago to some wounded warriors actually, and it was a pasta dinner just prior to the Houston Marathon. And I had a table full of guys myself, and I asked them what they wanted. And the number one answer was jobs. We want jobs. We don't want to sit around. We don't want to be on the dole. These people are proud. They're proud of their service, and they're proud of their training and what they can do, and they're proud of their relationships with other veterans. And so they want jobs. And I've read somewhere that these guys coming back, if they don't have a job within 6 months, of course, what happens when you sit around these idle minds, but if they don't have a job within 6 months of separation, they have about a 40% greater chance of developing PTSD, which a lot of them have, as well as traumatic brain injury. So we need to help these guys. And so a lot of what Team Rubicon does in between deployments is community support. I personally have worked with Habitat for Humanity. I've done some training programs for the Lone Star Veterans Association. And so we want to serve. That's what we are. That's what we're about. And of course, the great part about it is the sense of camaraderie. Now, I've been around for a long time. I'm a Vietnam era vet, and it wasn't much fun to be a veteran, when I separated. But now we've got these young guys, everybody's behind them, and that's the way it should be. And so we want to help them as much as we can. This is what I was talking about in terms of structural thermal panel. Basically, these are panels that are used to build a house. They're designed, obviously there's architectural drawings, so you know where the windows, where all the air conditioning and all that goes. They're actually built in the factory, and then the strike team, of course, the military, we know what strike teams are. That's why the name is strike team. They actually take these panels out, and the team that manufactures the panels then takes all these panels out. We'll have a slab built, and they will erect these panels. They are much more energy efficient than a lot of the insulation types that you see nowadays. And of course, it's the polystyrene that they use for the insulation is a solid block, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet and falling down to where it's not providing the kind of insulation that it should be providing. So this picture here shows you a couple of guys actually manufacturing a thermal panel. And these buildings are actually very, very structurally sound. I heard from Glenn that they actually were craning in an apartment, not an apartment, but like a hotel room, and it came loose. It fell about 30 feet, and it knocked a 4-foot hole in the ground, and it wasn't damaged. And so that's the kind. Nowadays we have all these tornadoes and stuff and high winds, and I guarantee you these will stand up to a hurricane better than the standard housing that we normally see. It's just a totally different technology. This is actually a construction site, and you see all these panels laid out. These are structural thermal panels. They're all insulated, and the team is getting together, and they're starting to put those together. When you look at this, though, it looks like, well, God, this is just it's just like a fabricated house that you see, getting towed down the road. I guarantee you, these are much more structurally sound and better insulated than prefabricated homes that you see in trailer parks, etc. And here's an example of, they can be manufactured in a number of ways, but this is a tilt wall raising technique where they have these things firmly attached to the slab, and then they're just pushed up into place and then eventually finished out. So even though it kind of looks like a cookie cutter box, this is an example of one that was built in the Woodlands, which is north of Houston, which is kind of a much more exotic looking house. They can be designed any way you want. They don't have to be, rectangular. And this is what the finished product looked like in this case. This is the house finished out. So you've got the structural thermal panels with the polystyrene. They've got a facing material on the outside, which could be faux brick or hardy plank or whatever. On the inside, it might be plasterboard or whatever. And this particular house was a big house, and yet they had very, very good energy efficiency, so their electricity bills were fairly low. And that's another thing we want too for these people that are, buying their first house, or they're veterans just starting their career, so they may not be making a whole lot of money. They have to save money, and so electricity is obviously a big cost, and we can install point of use water, hot water, and things like that. So those prefabricated panels come pre-wired. They have holes for wiring runs and things such as that. So this is an example of an apartment complex that was built in Wisconsin using structural thermal panels. So it can be used for a number of different things. Modular hotels, you could build billeting places for the military. And I certainly, am anxious to take the opportunity to maybe get some government contracts for housing, which can be put together very quickly. Put these on a truck, take them off wherever you want them, and have them craned into position and locked in. And this is the example of what I was saying, where they dropped one like 30 feet and didn't suffer hardly any damage. So it's pretty amazing technology. And when Glenn kind of got me excited about it, to me it just makes so much sense to use this type of construction. This is actually a commercial building. It could be a Whataburger, whatever, that was done very easily. You can usually use a metal frame if you want and put these structural thermal panels up, which provide very good insulation. You can actually build cargo units that you can fill with shipping containers filled with cargo and already plumbed and wired, and with air conditioning and heating built in. You can fill it with cargo and ship it anywhere in the world, put it on a ship, send it across the Atlantic Ocean somewhere, and put it on a trailer, take it into place, plug it in, and you're ready to go. Now, for operations like Team Rubicon, we could actually use something like this to store all our equipment in between deployments. And then when we had a deployment, we could just have a truck drag this out to wherever we were working, take all our gear out, and then put cots and stuff in there and use it for sleeping, for billeting, or for operations offices. So this technology, I think, is pretty amazing. This is something that Glenn actually did. It's a floor plan for like a PTSD treatment facility, or for homeless people or Alzheimer's, where you can have like an 8 or 16 bed facility. You can have an activity area. You can put kitchens in and those sorts of things. And so these are some possibilities for other stuff that we can build. A lot of the stuff that Glenn has built in the past with structural thermal panels has been rated platinum for energy efficiency. That's like the highest rating you can get. And so that's a very important thing as well. We can even put solar panels. We can put wind generators and stuff like that on these to take them off the grid. We can put gas fired generators, electrical generators, and so there's a lot of stuff that we can do. So if somebody came to you, if you lost your home in a disaster, or you were building a new home or some other kind of facility, and somebody from Strike Team came to you and said, well, we'd like you to use us. Well, why would they? Well, number one, it's a nonprofit entity. And so, whatever profit there is, these people know it's going to go to help other people. It's not going to go into somebody's pocket. And, we hear all the stuff on the news about the naughty rich people and those sorts of things. And, we expect it to be run by veterans for veterans. We're going to have, I'd like to have 100% veteran participation. That may be very difficult, but that's what we're shooting for. And also, for whatever subcontractors we use, we want subcontracts that are veteran-owned companies. And in my estimation, if we don't have a subcontractor, for instance, that does HVAC, we may become an incubator. Say, if you want to become a HVAC dealer, we'll put in some seed money, we'll pay for your training in that, and as long as you hire veterans, we'll use you on all our projects. And so we'll be providing housing, we'll be providing jobs, we'll be providing training. And of course, some of this revenue can go to support disaster response, so that maybe Team Rubicon can stay on site longer. We may be able to provide them, with support by our people. And we may have some equipment like backhoes and skid steers and stuff that they need to get their job done. We may be able to provide that. So, and then the house itself, a standard three bedroom house, we believe we can actually turn the keys over about 30 days faster than a house that's constructed with standard techniques. And of course, the energy efficiency is obviously a big plus. And if we can make any kind of structure, obviously we want them to be energy efficient, but they can also be American Disability Act rated, so that we have ramps and those sorts of things, which is something that Team Rubicon does sometimes for people who need ADA, ramps in their houses and stuff like that. So all these, everything costs money. And so if we can use the money that we generate to do good stuff, uh, that's where we want to be. This is actually an old hotel in Midtown Houston that was bought and converted into a living facility for um, for veterans, and they're housing quite a few guys there. Well, theoretically, if we get our hands on, if we can get somebody to donate an old apartment building, we can go in and refurbish it and do the same thing that these folks did. Probably do it a lot cheaper, and it'll all be done by veterans. We might even be able to hire some of the guys that live here to help us out. And so obviously when we go on to, if there's a disaster deployment, we can send our crews out, especially our Team Rubicon people. They know how to tear stuff down. That's part of what we do. And so, we can do that as well. I know I was deployed to North Texas after the Christmas tornadoes there. And of course, we tore down several houses, and there are others that need to be torn down, and the government is actually letting out contracts to do that now. Well, why not contract with us? Because whatever money we don't need for our own people and supplies and stuff, we can take that money, put it back into the community, or train other veterans. So, and of course, obviously, training is very important. I mentioned, guys that told me they got to have jobs, and that's what I want to do. I want to start this in Houston, but there's no reason why we can't move this across the country and have strike team construction companies all over the United States. It's just, I mean, in the military, they set the bar high, so why not set the bar high, and we'll go as far and as fast as we can. And of course, if you build something like the PTSD training facility, we've got the PTSD Foundation of America right here in Houston. We could help them expand by building facilities for them that we could put up very quickly, and we can bring in, some of our 32,000 plus people across the country to help out with that. So, I mean, I'm an optimistic guy, and I think we can do this. And a lot of these facilities need management of some sort or another. So we can train our people. You want to become a facilities manager, we'll send you to Lone Star College, we'll send you to Houston Community College, and we'll put you through a construction technology program or a facilities management program to give you the skills that you need, and you've got a job. And if theoretically, if you decide you want to move on to something else, well, we gave you the opportunity to learn something, and hopefully we can move you on to something even better down the road. Of course, a lot of our people, they know how to handle weapons, and so obviously a lot of them might be facility securities. We could have our own security group in strike team construction. There's no reason why we can't do that. Maintenance is another thing. We can teach people how to do HVAC. We could teach people how to do window maintenance, how to do roofs, how to do slabs, and how to keep these facilities up and running. So that's another opportunity to train people. We could even have our own food service facilities if we had personal care homes. If we bought a 3-bedroom house and converted it into a personal care home for veterans, we might want to provide 3 meals a day. We could build a centralized kitchen and deliver hot food, wherever we want it. So, every kind of, training you can imagine. There's no reason why we can't do that, or find partners like Lone Star College, and HCC to help us do that. And of course, of potential partnerships. Now, Team Rubicon has a lot of partners out there already. I mean, we do a lot of stuff with Team Red, White, and Blue, and the mission continues. U.S. vets, we can do some stuff with them. Obviously, the VA, if they've got people coming in that are having problems with PTSD, well, maybe they need a job. Well, the VA may call us and say, listen, can you help this guy? We may find a place for them to stay, if we have like a assisted living facility that we've built. So, I mean, the possibilities to me are damn near endless. And of course, like anything else, it takes money. So what I need help doing is raise money so we can start building homes. We're going to have to hire people. We're going to have to put an infrastructure in place, and we're also going to have to set up a nonprofit. So that's what I want to do, and I hope that that there are people out there, I'm sure there are, that can help us, because we can do so much good if we team up together. When you think about in the past 6 years how Team Rubicon has grown, from 3,000 to 30 plus thousand. I'd like to see the same growth pattern for strike team construction, because the more we grow, the more we can do. So I hope you got something out of the presentation. Contact me, let me know what you can do to help, and we'll be forever grateful. Thank you and have an auspicious day.